Hey everyone, Brady Joker here, and welcome back to what I watched in January. Wow, I can't believe I've been doing this for a year. And the craziest thing is if you actually go back and look at my setup and the angle of the camera and the original what I watched in January, things have changed quite a bit. And I promise this video will not be an hour long. Again, always want to say shout out to the boy Karsten for inspiring this whole series. I just think it's a really fun and just a fun way to talk about films instead of making a whole video talking about one particular film. I can kind of give a short little description and my thoughts on every film I watch, which I think is a really fun thing to do. And with that being said, this was a very short month of films, so yeah, let's just get right into it. Started the month with The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. Yeah, I just uploaded a 30-minute long analysis of all three, and people have not been very happy with me. There's just one comment I'd like to point out, talking about the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse thingy-majiggy, and yeah, it's a fair point. I do see your point. I just didn't love the no character arc, and I understand that it's a full narrative that is only 33% of the full narrative, but that's just not my thing. I think a better analogy would be the Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows movies, where the first one just doesn't feel complete and it's a lot worse than the others. That's the best analogy I can think of now. Then watched The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. I think this is a huge step up, except for Merry and Pippin's side plot. I think I loved everything about this. Aragorn and Gimli carry this film along with Sam and Frodo. I also really like Gollum. It's just a really fun movie. I love Battle of Helm's Deep. It's probably my favorite battle in the entire trilogy. Yeah, I love it. And then I watched Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. This is probably my favorite in the trilogy. However, I still stand that I think it is probably the one I could complain the most about. Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas are barely in this one. There's so much dedicated to Pippin for some reason. And while I think it's good stuff, it's just not the best. However, Frodo and Sam's journey in this one is amazing, and the stuff that we do get with Aragorn for the most part is cool, except for the ghost people thing. I also really love Merry and Eowyn's connection and their determinations throughout the film, and the finale and the climax, and you know, the ending is really good. I then watched Fargo. I do want to try to keep this one brief as well. I'm going to be ranking Coen Brothers soon, not this month, definitely not this month. You'll see why at the end of the month. But yeah, so Fargo, really good movie. Really liked it. Some of the dialogue is a little annoying at times. It's just very sitcom-like, if that's the best way to put it. Especially the main dude. He's just so animated for some reason. However, the story, which I have come to find out isn't true. Someone actually fact-checked me on that. I'm pretty sure I heard that it's actually not a true story, but the Coen brothers said that you can make a biopic about anything and people will believe you. So yeah, I think the murders and the story that this movie is actually really good. It's really well done. Steve Buscemi is just absolutely amazing in everything he's in, and yeah, I loved this movie. Then watched American Animals. This is easily one of the most underlooked and underappreciated films in the last decade. I think this movie is actually incredible. The way it's filmed to kind of be a documentary while also being its own film is really well done. You get splices of the real people that this movie is based on, kind of talking about it, recounting the events as they remember it, while also mixed in with the incredible performances, especially by Evan Peters in this one. Can definitely, you know, see how this dude landed some pretty big roles, mainly Dahmer. I just think this movie's really fun. It is a really sad story at times, but I think it's really well made. I really like the performances and the way everything kind of concludes. It's a great film. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. I think it's very underrated. I then watched Baby Driver. I've been meaning to get this one off my list, and I finally watched it. I think this movie is insanely fun. It has so much action, and I love cool drivers and driving stuff, so this was just really fun for me. Just watching Ansel just be absolutely disgusting behind the wheel was a lot of fun. And while obviously Kevin Spacey sucks, he gives another good performance. I also really like Jamie Foxx in this movie. He's really menacing, really fun. He's a great character. And while the story itself is nothing really special. You have to have a fun time watching the movie. I then rewatched Anatomy of a Fall. On rewatch, this was a 5 out of 5 for me. I can't think of a really single bad thing about this movie. While it is kind of slow with its pacing, it's totally intentional to build up the tension that the movie has with its suspicions and its tensions. Sandra Hüller gives an absolutely incredible performance. She's so good. I like the ambiguity that this movie leaves you with. It makes you want to think about the movie for days after you watch it. I've already said a lot about it in my what I watched in December and my top 10 movies of 2023, and just to clarify, that movie would now be at my number 3 position on that list. I just think it's an absolutely incredible work of art that needs to be watched by anyone who's kind of into these courtroom but also dramas, because it's certainly a family drama in the mix of all of it. I then watched Sideways in honor of Paul Giamatti possibly winning the Oscar. I am still hoping it's Cillian because I think he deserves it. I wouldn't be upset if Paul won, but I watched this film because I heard Paul Giamatti was great, and yeah, they're absolutely right. Is it as good as his performance in The Holdovers? I think it's up there, but probably not as good, but I really just liked this fun, hilarious. The movie's actually hilarious, which I wasn't expecting it to be that funny. But it's also really sad because Paul Giamatti's character is depressed, and I actually didn't know that going in, and I was very shocked by the turns that this movie took. I just really didn't like that one dude, the other main character guy. I don't remember his name, but that dude kind of sucked. And I get that he's supposed to suck, and that means that the movie did a good job. It's a technically good movie, but I just didn't like his character. I didn't like watching him. He just made me mad. Which there are some characters who are written like that, to be annoying and a bad person, that I like watching. Joker. But this movie just didn't pull that off for me with him, in my opinion. I love Virginia Madsen in this. She's great. It's just a really fun movie. Again, super funny. Go watch it if you haven't. I then watched Casablanca. Man, this is a very underground film. I don't know if you guys have actually heard of this one. It's got this dude, Humphrey Bogart, and has also Ingrid Bergman, and it's just a really underground film. Not a lot of people know about it. I'll stop trying to be funny. But yeah, this movie was good. I actually really liked it. In fact, I think the more it sits with me, the more I enjoy it. However, on a first watch, the story never really grabbed me or got me invested until about 45 minutes to an hour into this film. Which kind of let me down because I was going into this with obviously pretty high expectations, seeing as it's frickin' Casablanca, but it just didn't really hook me. And that's really the movie's only sin. After you get some pretty slow and boring exposition, in my opinion, you get some great romance, some great tragedies, and it's really good. Louis and Rick are just a pair match in heaven. I butched that up pretty bad, but anyways, the final line is absolutely perfect. Rick himself is one of the best protagonists I've seen in quite some time. I love Rick. He's so cold, he's tough, but he has heart to him as well. I just think as a movie, it's really well done. As a movie itself, technically, it's a near flawless film, but just in my personal opinion, never really got hooked until about an hour in. So there you go. I liked it. Okay, I liked Casablanca. I'm sorry that I didn't give it a 5. My bad. Then watched Inside Llewyn Davis. Another Coen Brothers. I've been, again, meaning to watch this one for a very long time. Finally got the chance to watch it. And wow, what a sad film this is. It's just a story about life. That's it. It's just this dude and his day-to-day life going through the struggles of life. That's it. Oscar Isaac, I mean, good lord. I can't believe the dude didn't get nominated for an Oscar. I mean, he plays the role absolutely perfectly, and it's crazy to me to think that now he's frickin' Spider-Man 2099, which is nuts. But the dude's voice is actually heavenly in this. I read he did his own singing and guitar playing, I believe, which is insane because all of the musical numbers in this one are so good. The movie made me actually appreciate folk and country music, which just judging by my vinyls up here, you can probably tell I'm not a huge fan of country music. And so this movie actually made me like and appreciate the art that it is, which I always appreciate that. I just think this is a stunning work of art that is really sad, but also very I don't want to say uplifting, but it's just like, dang, like this is so real. This is real, it's raw. It's a raw film. That's the best word, it's raw. And then I rewatched Trainspotting. I also want to do a Danny Boyle ranked at some point because I really do like this guy's work, so far at least. I've only seen a handful. 127 Hours is one of my favorite movies of all time, which I haven't watched in a very long time though. Trainspotting is also one of my favorite movies of all time. This went up quite a bit. I couldn't stop thinking about the movie for a very long time. I still think about it pretty much daily. And you'll see in a minute, I also really liked the sequel. And Slumdog Millionaire was mid. Anyways, Trainspotting. You can't get much better than this film, to be honest. It's on par with Requiem. I used to always think, even after both of my first watches, I was like, okay, yeah, Requiem is much better than Trainspotting. Now it's only like 2 spots below it on my favorites list. Trainspotting is just near flawless. It just really takes a look at, yeah, these people are bad people. How can I try to make them human? And I love that. The movie is gross. It's disgusting. It's just, it has this dark feel to it, this documentary-esque film style to it that it's so good. I've never seen a movie done like this before, where I don't know what the budget was of this film, but I can assume it was pretty low, and you can tell. But that's not a bad thing. With the subject matter and its characters, the movie was supposed to look cheap. There's so many sequences that have just stuck in my mind as permanent all-timers for some of the best filmmaking I've ever seen. It's not an easy one to get through. The ending has gotta be in my top 5 endings of any movie I've ever watched. It's flawless writing with the ending here. I cannot sing Trainspotting's praises higher than I already have. I think it's a near flawless film. I love it so much. But it might not be your thing, because it's totally not some people's thing. If you don't like drugs and gross things and bad people, irredeemable people for that matter, don't watch the movie. Even though I think everyone should watch this film because of how important it is, I think. I then finished out the month with T2 Trainspotting. Yeah, I already told you this is a short month. This is the first time I've actually checked out the sequel of the 3 times I've seen the original now. And while it's definitely not as good as the original, I can certainly respect what this film is and does. The way that the movie just expands on the characters and their stories is pretty much the only thing that carries this movie for me. However, the tone and the feel of the original is completely gone. You're not getting Trainspotting. You're getting a much more cinematic, a much more beautiful story in terms of its look and feel, because there are so many like drone shots of beautiful sceneries and some cool CG effects with cool angles and shots, and it just doesn't work for me because the cheap documentary feel of the original is kind of why I love it so much. And while I do think that, while yeah, obviously Mark Renton is a more cleaned up person, you know, he still has that dark undertone in his life that he kind of expresses throughout the film. The way the characters reunite is great in every scene. I think the way that they interact is impossible to get so perfect as they did. I mean, this is exactly how I would imagine a reuniting would go with old friends after one betrayed the other. It's like, it's great. So characters and the story is insanely well done. The ending's a bit, I don't want to say stereotypical, but it is a bit stereotypical. But I do love the film. It looks good, but from Trainspotting point of view, no. I don't love the look of the movie. And that's what I watched in January. That is 50 movies less than what I watched last year in January. January of 2023, I watched 62 movies. This one I only watched 12, and already in February, I'm filming this on the 5th, I'm already over halfway to 12. So just letting you guys know, February is the month of animation for me. Maybe one film that I might watch this month will not be animated, but so far I've watched 7 movies this month so far. They've all been animated, and good lord, I can't wait to talk about them. So yeah, that's what I watched in January. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you like and subscribe, of course, if you want to. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, evening, or night. Goodbye.